Hey folks, it's Luke Ienn, and this is a bonus episode. I'm gonna sit here and read the contents of Artyom's journal. Most of it we've already know about. It's just kind of like, well, no, not most of it. Some of it we already know, which is the diary section. That's just the stuff that plays between each of the loading screens. But I don't know about any of the rest of this, so let's catch up. Starting with Anna. Here we go. Anna, my Anna. From the very beginning, I thought I was not worthy of you. What was I? A nerdy guy from a backwater station, a dreamer hearing voices in his head, an adventure seeker, and you? The most beautiful girl in the metro, the only daughter of the legendary Colonel Miller, the best sniper of the Spartan Order. But, how did you put it? There are lots of hard-boiled guys around. God, how much have we been through together? We had our bright days and really dark ones. Our feelings would die out and rekindle again. I even tried to leave, but couldn't go too far. You wanted a normal man, but you still accepted me as I am. You were the only one who didn't consider me mad when I spent days on the surface listening to the radio in fruitless attempts of receiving signals from other survivors. Excuse me. You knew that every such sortie meant more radiation exposure for me and less chances for healthy children should we ever have them. And you would still let me go. You didn't prohibit me from dreaming. I always felt your gaze on me. When you would cover my back in combat, and when I would lose my way, I was always in your field of view. I always knew that nobody could ever replace you, my personal guardian angel of death. If this is not love, what is? Anna, you wanted to believe me, and you couldn't. You tried to not pay attention to your father, and you did. The Colonel firmly believes that our country is occupied, and that the war is still going on, and that just makes us jumpy, makes us expect an attack at every turn, makes us look for traces of enemy presence everywhere. He has us riled up, and Anna is not immune to that. She was so eager to find the occupying forces in that tiny abandoned village near the bridge over Volga that she saw an American banner in a mere old t-shirt. She went to investigate and fell through the roof of an old chemical silo. Luckily, the chemicals seemed to have been long since expired, and Anna got away with just a few bruises. Needless to say, there was not a trace of foreign troops' presence anywhere close. Colonel Miller. Oh god, his name. Alright, Miller. Colonel Sviatle Konstantinovich Melnikov. Sviatslav Konstantinovich Melnikov. That's a lot of name. That's a lot of name. It's an amazing name. The founder and the permanent commander of the Order of Sparta, Miller placed and trained each Spartan individually. He was the only one to come out to the rescue of my home station when we were under attack by the Dark Ones. He was the only one to stand between the communists and the Nazis and prevent the conflict which could well spell the ultimate end of our civilization. It was Miller who accepted me into the Order and blessed our union with Anna, his only daughter. I became his son-in-law, but could never amass the courage to call him Dad. Nothing but Colonel, with a Sir, of course. In the D6 defense, the Colonel lost his best fighters, and his old self, sorry, let me start that over. In the D6 defense, the Colonel lost his best fighters and his old self. Something is forever broken in him. He became cold, completely intolerant of any dissent. Sometimes I feel he's sorry he didn't object to his daughter marrying me. He would have probably preferred Hunter as his son-in-law, but Hunter is missing, and I dragged his daughter into a maelstrom none of us might ever emerge from. I dragged the Colonel into the worst adventure of his life. He had to commit high treason to save his daughter, with me in tow. He is convinced that the war is still going on, that Moscow had to fake death to prevent the final murderous strike from being launched against it. But Anna is still his daughter, and I'm still one of his soldiers, so he, in his advanced age, risks everything he has. His reputation, his position in the metro, the most of his order, everything to save us too, and maybe somehow get himself out of this mess. We are going to the Yamantau Mountain, where the Supreme Command HQ is located. Only the true government of our destroyed country could pardon the colonel for treason, of course, if they agree to even listen to him at all. There's only one problem, though. It's been a few days since we left Moscow, but we have yet to find a trace of the occupying forces. Damir. Damir is probably the calmest of all the crew members. Damir is also extremely reliable. He'll always be there to help. He always does the hardest part of any job, goes on the toughest missions, and then, instead of taking the well-earned respect and gratitude as one would expect, he starts blushing and saying it had nothing to do with success, and it was all just kind of happened that way. There's only one painful issue for Damir, and that's his name, given to him by his father, along with half of his blood. Damir can't forgive his father for leaving, going as far to deny being his blood kin. So then, was his father Russian and his mother from Kazakhstan? Hence his reason for trying to find it? Huh. Interesting. I don't know, though. It could be the other way around, or maybe I'm just not reading it the right way. Alright, Duke. Mr. Handsome here. Oh, look at him all sulky and, like, serious and so just, like, smoldering there. Oh god, his name here, too. Duke of Darkness. Igor Dukov, the youngest, the bravest, and the craziest of us. Some joined the order out of desperation, others to protect people from dangers. But Duke is just desperately in love with adventure. Whenever the colonel asks for volunteers, Duke is always first to shout, "Me!" No matter how dangerous and no matter how hard and dangerous the mission ahead may be. A shame that we don't have any medals in the order, otherwise Duke would be plastered with them. He keeps looking up to the more experienced fighters, competing with them and for the most kills, missions and wounds. For some reason, he pays particular attention to comparing his achievements with mine, perhaps. Perhaps it's because I'm closest to his age. Anna once said about him, "Quit your whining, Artyom. There are people here who dream of becoming like you." About Duke, was she right? Igor likes being called the Duke of Darkness, but you can hardly find a lighter-hearted guy. He really is but a brat taking crazy risks all the time, but Lady Luck smiles to the brave. If not for the trick he played on Salantius, that old obscurant, our whole operation could have failed. Duke, my friend, your star is undoubtedly on the rise, and soon you will outshine us all. Be proud of one, we be of one blood, Ienn, and I am proud of it. Yeah, Duke's awesome. I like Duke. Yermak. The Aurora's permanent helmsman. Yermak knows her every detail down to the smallest bolt and feels every change in the work of her. Oh god, hang on. Yermak knows her every detail down to the smallest bolt and feels every change in the work of any of her numerous and, truth be told, quite worn out mechanisms with his heart. Yermak fit into our group so easily and naturally. It seems he was with us since forever. And yet, Anna and I only met him on a Hanseatic base, where Yermak first helped me find my wife, and then lead us into the hijacking of our beloved cruiser. Still, with Yermak's background, it's a small wonder he decided to leave Moscow with us. At the time of our meeting, we had only just learned of Hansa executing everyone trying to enter or leave Moscow, but Yermak had been living with this terrible knowledge for months. First out of fear for his daughter's life, and then, after she succumbed to her illness, out of sheer hopelessness. But now he is free, just like the rest of us, and, if we ever come back to Moscow, we'll settle our scores with the Hanseatic leadership once again. Yermak says that every man has a destination in life, a place where the fate leads him to, and whenever life becomes hard, sometimes unbearably so, I will always recall his words. This might be the end of the line, but it is still not your destination. Get up, walk on. Thank you, Yermak. I like Yermak a lot. Alright. Idiot. Idiot chose his nickname out of natural humility, or perhaps simply in honor of one of Dostoevsky's characters. In fact, he's anything but, being the most educated and well-read soldier in the order, landing the position of Miller's right-hand man back in the metro. The question is, what does he really know about the reasons for people being held in the tunnels, the war that could be still going on, as well as who is really in control of the metro? Idiot likes talking a lot. But he never actually says much, even if you push him. Safer as usual. On one hand, this could be true, while on the other... That's kind of like me, a little bit. If you feel that the truth is close enough to touch, talk to Ienn. He'll confuse you completely in no time. One thing about him that I don't understand at all is could he even be looking for fighting in the Order's ranks? That's a good point. Alosia, the life of every party and an avid lady killer. A favorite customer of the seediest joints of Svenstoli Boulevard and our survival and service instructor. After only a cursory glance, he can correctly tell if an abandoned building can last for years or if it is ready to collapse on your head at the slightest touch, which ability saved him back in Moscow more than once. Alosia is the only member of our crew seemingly taking our journey for an exciting adventure, probably in anticipation of new meetings, with representatives of the fair sex, of course. Sam is one of the Order's best. He might not be the strongest, fastest, or the best marksman we have, but he can certainly hold his own in a match with Spartan champions in each of these areas, and he definitely is the most unusual of us. Sam is an American, a Marine from the U.S. Embassy's guard detail, who just happened to be in the metro when the Judgment Day came, eventually ending up as Colonel Miller's personal bodyguard. Sam had to sit the battle for D6 out on the account of staying in a hospital with a serious wound, and was really hard on himself for not being there to protect the Colonel when he needed them most. As soon as he was back on his feet, still all bandaged, Sam would refuse to leave the Colonel's side no matter what. He wouldn't let anyone else He wouldn't even let anyone else push Miller's wheelchair. Even when Andrew the blacksmith made the amazing prosthetics the Colonel has been wearing ever since, Sam remained Miller's shadow and, of course, joined us aboard the Aurora. Above all of us, the crew's members are going somewhere, to some kind of destination, as Yermak puts it, even though that none of us know where that destination would be. Sam, though, seems to know the place. If the world outside the metro is not wiped out there must be survivors in the U.S., and Sam can't stop thinking about his parents, who might still be alive, waiting for their son. I wonder if he feels he's traveling in the right direction with us. While we were waiting for the Aurora's repairs to be completed, thinking on how to cross the river, Sam, in light of our constant mentions of occupying forces, hypnotized himself into believing that the Colonel didn't trust him. It must be heartbreaking to have served a commander for 20 years with unquestioning loyalty, only to be considered a traitor. But it must be equally heartbreaking to have become so close to your old enemy, only to learn that your country might still be there, after all, and if the war is still going on, whose side are you on, Sam? Who are you? Stepan. In day-to-day life, Stepan is so calm and nice, it's hard to believe he's a member of the Order. We are a military organization, after all. Once you see this giant in battle, though, you immediately see the reason for him being there. Stepan is completely fearless and amazingly strong. He handles a heavy machine gun as if it were a regular assault rifle. We're lucky to be on Stepan's side. Having him as an enemy would be a disaster. Right until meeting Katya, Stepan has never defied the Colonel. But when Miller didn't want to let the woman and her daughter aboard the Aurora, he started a real quarrel. The Colonel was noticeably thrown off, while the rest of us immediately understood what was going on. Still, as any good commander, Miller quickly saw through Stepan and let himself being talked into letting Katya and Nastya aboard. With this addition, Stepan was sure to never leave the crew. Tokarev. Partial to the creations of the famous designer he shares the family name with. Oh, really? Huh. Is a man in love with his craft. He is constantly busy with the crew's weapons, repairing, maintaining them, and making improvements. Tokarev knows everything there is to know about weapons and even more, and can talk about them for hours, but is little interested in much else. Still, he doesn't just care for our firepower, but also works on our gear, constantly adjusting and inventing new things, laboring day and night to make sure we all perform to the best of our ability without being hindered by inferior equipment. What could we do without him? On a side note, he seems to be quietly and hopelessly and requitedly in love with my Anna. He's always worried about her, thinking of her, talking about her, but I can't even bring myself to feel jealous. Oh, Artyom. Pretty chill about that, but at the same time, You know, I don't blame you. When you got a wife as cool as Anna, you're just like, yeah, you know what? I don't blame you. She's cool, but you know, I got her first. Just letting you know. I can't really imagine what Katya and Nastya had been through, and how they managed to keep their sanity, much less remain as optimistic as they are. A little girl and a tender woman proved to be tougher than fate, taking all the blows it could throw at them squarely, and those blows were many and mighty. They had arrived at Volga with a group of migrants who were out on a quest for a better life. That quest ended with them finding a new faith, and their death along with it. Of course, Silantius didn't kill anyone himself. He doesn't even let his order he didn't even order anyone killed. Still, his holy ritual, where an initiate must dispose of an electric anomaly to be accepted into the fold, how is it different from a murder in cold blood? It's no wonder that the colonel let Stepan and Anna coax him into letting Katya and Nastya aboard the Aurora, even though there must be numerous dangers waiting for us. Still, I would argue that these ladies are tougher than some battle-hardened troopers. Besides, Katya is a trained nurse and will most probably need all the medical expertise we can get. Quest. An avid storyteller, a talented mechanic, a natural-born adventurer who traveled all across the vast expanses of this threatening world of the surface, so alien to us, who'd been through hundreds of scuffles and struck thousands of deals, quite a few of which could well be of the less scrupulous sort. I don't know if Crest will be journeying with us for long, but I'm not surprised that he had such an easy time fitting in. Right from the start, he gave us the hand of fixing the Aurora, gave us the railcar he'd been using in his adventures. Then he went up with us on a mission to capture the tugboat, giving Duke and me the cover we needed to infiltrate the bridge. It's no wonder that even our usually cautious colonel had no second thoughts about welcoming Crest into the crew. Ah, what a great ragtag group of folks. I love it. Great stuff. Alright, let's read the next section. New World. Bandits. With no state and its laws, with no pockets of civilization the new civic society could crystallize around, with no hope of ever going back to normal life, should one be surprised with the rise of anarchy and its consequences. Bandits, constructing their rudimentary societies around the basest aspects of human nature. Even in the tunnels of Moscow Metro, where every meter has been divided between the quasi-states, attempting to uphold some semblance of order on their turf, the gangs flourish. What could one expect from the world of surface, where there is nothing to, where there is simply nobody and nothing to stand up to them? I got that backwards like 3 times. On the banks of Volga, there seem to be a great many of bandit gangs. They have somehow agreed on the division or spheres of influence and are more or less happily coexisting, robbing the few remaining or newly founded in less polluted regions. Peaceful survivor settlements and selling their denizens as slaves on the markets of the south. The Fanatics. The worship of a giant mutant catfish, intense hatred towards the technology and outsiders, coupled with intense suppression of all individuality and independent thought within the community. What else could one reasonably expect from a mix of primitive mysticism with classic religion, seeped with good old founder's cult of personality? I must give the Fanatics their dues, though. By banding together, they managed to survive in this wild world, settling a bridge and turning it into a veritable fortress, which we had no choice but to take seriously. Their best fighters, the lightning fighters, can fight back against the electric anomalies and even gangs of bandits, compensating for their lack in training by strong motivation rooted in their fanaticism. Exhibition, VDNKH, my home station, now a part of Vindicate Commonwealth, together with Alexeyevskaya and Rishskaya. Living there has been an uneven ride, but I still have fond memories of the time, even though Anna, my wife, would disagree. She positively hated it there, having traded the position of the Order's best sniper for everyday chores of a regular mushroom farmer. Hansa. The most powerful faction of the Metro, the commonwealth of the stations and of the Ring Line. The soldiers in Hansa's employ enjoy the best pay and equipment, and thus are highly motivated to train and perform their duties exceptionally well. making up in proficiency and skill for what only they may lack in numbers. The only force to be objectively better than Hanseatic troops in terms of professionalism and training is the Spartan Order, which yours truly is honored to be a member of. As far as I was able to surmise from the Colonel's reluctant confession, Hans is the vehicle of the Invisible Watchers, the real government of Moscow controlling all of the factions from the shadows. They clearly have too much power to just live and let live, and thus engaged in some shady business, including the SHIELD project, designed to keep Moscow under an impenetrable blanket of radio jamming to prevent further nuclear strikes against the capital. The project itself would be a benevolent initiative, even if quite misguided, had it not been connected with mass murder of people coming into or trying to leave Moscow, as well as anyone and everyone learning anything about it. Anna and I were captured by the patrol after we saw the Aurora entering the city perimeter, and just for that terrible crime, I was put to the gun. Anna's agony at the moment is something I will not forgive them, for as long as I live. Alright. Time to learn about the creatures. Nasty gnarlies. Watchman. These annoying beasts hunt in packs, and if you see one, you'd better dispose of it immediately. Otherwise it might howl and call in the rest of the pack, and it will howl as soon as it sees you. Demons. These giant flying mutants, comfortably occupying the position of the apex predator in the food chain of the poisoned wasteland, stretching above the tunnels of Moscow metro have whoa, okay. The periods are kind of hard to see, and also you can't tell if they're a period or a comma sometimes. The position of the apex predator in the food chain of the poisoned wasteland, stretching above the tunnels of Moscow and metro, have comfortably. That's a weird sentence. That's a strange sentence. Thanks to their enormous physical strength, speed, and aggressive demeanor, successfully settled a huge territory. Yeah, what's going on with this sentence? That's hardly surprising, as there were very few animals capable of ever facing a demon, those that could fight it one-on-one and win, or even fewer and further between, while a demon can easily fly away from any of them. Luckily, because of these strengths, the demons, like the large birds of prey in the past, prefer to live and hunt alone or in very small groups, and thus do not present an immense threat to a careful traveler. Humanimals. Like the other mutants created by radioactive fallout, these nightmarish creatures feel right at home in the inhospitable post-war world. Despite clearly being descended from humans, these creatures are not really that smart. Resembling apes in their behavior, they live in packs, don't use any tools, and defend themselves mostly by throwing stones from a distance. One such mutant is not so much of a threat, but a fight against a pack of these is hard to survive. Our first encounter with these creatures happened on the banks of the Volga, and in the open they seemed harmless, even pathetic, their ugly appearance accentuated by the sluggishness of their movements. Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely true. Yet, inside the abandoned loading terminal building, they proved to be more than just troublesome to me. It became apparent that besides throwing stones, they were also capable of ambushing their prey by hiding in shallow water. Okay, so yeah, they weren't in the first or second game. Okay, that's kind of what I thought. They definitely seemed new to me. Starfish. Generally, a giant mutant catfish terrorizing the fishermen would be a dubious object of worship at best, but Solantius still managed to indoctrinate the locals he brainwashed into believing the monster was sent to the earth with a divine mission. God. Shrimp female. A mysterious aquatic life form, seemingly crustacean of course, but you can't be sure these days. As far as I know, nobody ever thought of properly researching them and finding their proper place in classification. What we know is that they have strong carapaces, are aggressive predators, and as such, inherently dangerous. The females of the species tend to attack in packs, spitting corrosive mucus from the distance, or when they think that they can easily finish their prey with just going in for a kill with their disgusting leech-like mouths. Shrimp male. A mysterious aquatic life form, seemingly crustacean, of course, you can't be sure these days. As far as I know, nobody ever thought of properly researching, yada yada yada. They have strong carapaces, same as everything else of the other ones, but the males of the species tend to live solitary lives and are extremely territorial. Once they see anything they deem a threat, they immediately attack using their massive forelimbs and clubs as shields at once. Ah, yeah, okay. I can kind of tell the difference between the two types now, yeah. I wondered why only these ones opened their mouths and these ones didn't. I see. Dog! Dog. The common dogs seem to be no match for the messed up world of the surface, but they manage to survive despite being surrounded by mutants and human enemies, so they definitely are a threat to be considered, especially when you consider their keen senses and ability to easily alert their masters to your presence. I only think I ran into like one dog so far, like at the beginning. Lurker. While lurkers are far from being the strongest or meanest mutants around either in the metro or on the surface, they're still a danger to be considered, especially for a lonely wanderer. They are a colonial burrowing species. As such, they protect themselves from the larger predators by constructing lots of interconnected burrows in close proximity to each other, and hiding in them if sufficiently threatened, while keeping their surroundings under constant observation in search for danger or potential prey. When in a lurker-infested area, you can never guess which burrow a bloodthirsty creature might appear from, though you can will most often be the one you're not looking at. So these are different from the Watchmen. I thought that these were like baby Watchmen, but no, they're a whole different species. My mistake. Equipment. Alright, a gas mask. A gas mask was vital in Moscow. You couldn't even hope to go outside without one, and it often came in handy even in the tunnels. Think of the mushroom fields, especially when the fresh fertilizer was being piled in. I had hoped to be able to get rid of it on the surface, but it looks like that was just a pipe dream. There are lots of places here where this stuffy thing becomes a necessity. Charger. My tried and true manual crank charger made from a scooter alternator, a stabilizer, a transformer, a battery, and metal shears. How often did I have to listen to it whir, waiting for the flashlight to come back to life? Frankly speaking, I'd love to cut down on the times I have to keep squeezing it, but 20 years after the Judgment Day, decent rechargeable batteries are kind of hard to come by, so we all have to use the restored and re-restored ones. And these hold charge just a little better than a bottomless bucket holds water. Besides, this little charger can, in times of emergency, power things much larger than a flashlight or a night sight, since it can generate some decent power. It usually takes quite a lot of cranking to do that, though. Handy stuff. Notepad. This isn't just an old military-issue map. A map case that holds maps, pencils, and notes on the mission parameters anymore. The efforts of Tokarev, Sparta's tech guru, have brought it up to the Order's standard and turned it into a marvel of technology while remaining surprisingly light. It now includes a map with an automatic course plotter showing my current location, a radio for communicating with the HQ, a compass, and a notepad, which I am planning to use and record my profound thoughts, interesting observations, and other things noteworthy. Perhaps one day I might turn it all into a memoir. Backpack! Tokarev has entrusted field testing his newest invention, a combination backpack portable workshop that not only allows to easily carry a considerable load and clean and service weapons, but also lets its user to make filters, medikits, and other pieces of equipment useful in the field to me. Surely I am honored with his trust, but something tells me Tokarev has an ulterior motive here. This could be his ploy for stocking up on useful materials without even leaving the confines of his workshop. If that wasn't the case, why would he spend time telling me where to find usable metal parts and chemicals? He even proposed that I check out the mutant layers, though I must say the idea seemed to be quite good. Binoculars. The binoculars Crest gave to me turned out to be an invaluable gift. Back in Moscow, even on the surface, there was no real need for a pair, but out here they do help me out a lot. Of course, you could take a good look at something from a considerable distance using an optical sight, but a wider field of view, great magnification, and, above all, binocular picture, allow to get a good grasp of relative positions of points of interest and distance between them, making the binoculars a must when marking such a point on a map. Bracer. The bracers all Spartans wear are not an important piece of armor, but still routinely save our lives. They are used to mount such vital pieces of equipment as Geiger counters, warning us of dangerous radiation hotspots, and watches necessary for keeping track of gas mask filter usage. The watch is combined with another gadget that, despite its tiny size, is also vitally important, the light indicator. Many a time its blue light hinted to me to find a better shaded hiding spot to remain stealthy. lighter. Got this piece of trench art okay, hang on. This piece of trench art I got from Sukhoi has been with me through a lot, but its value is far from just sentimental. I always relied on it whenever I needed to start a campfire, find my way out of a dark tunnel by following the faintest draft, go through a spider bug lair and want to get rid of their cobwebs, or simply need a backup light source, and it never fails. It's also made from a bullet casing. It's neat. Night vision goggles. Wait, what? What night vision goggles? I don't have night vision goggles. When did I get night vision goggles? I don't remember having night vision goggles. When did I get those? We have to look through my equipment. Okay. Even before the war, the night vision goggles were a valued commodity in the military forces, even moderately concerned with whether carrying out stealthy operations or effectively foiling those. With relative fragility of such devices and perpetual darkness of the tunnels, their value and importance in the metro grew exponentially. Obtaining a working specimen is rare luck, and even the Order could never manage to procure enough to make the night vision goggles a piece of our standard issue equipment for all of its fighters, providing them only for specific operations still. For specific operations. Still, all the helmets issued by the Order have the necessary mounting points, and our standard power packs, usually reserved to feeding our flashlights, have additional sockets which the Spartans can use to plug such goggles into should they obtain one. I wonder if that's a hint that I'll be getting some later. That sounds great. Weapons. Kalash. Oh, these are long. Okay. Despite the venerable age of this weapon, which before the Judgment Day had played a considerable part in hundreds of conflicts all over the world, its unparalleled reliability and considerable firepower make it a prized possession in the tunnels of the metro, and, of course, on the surface. A standard Kalash is simply a solid assault rifle with all its characteristic pros and cons, but thanks to the talents of Sparta's gunsmiths, and Tokrov's personally, the model our Order fields can accommodate a huge variety of upgrades, from extended magazine to various sights. Not only that, with a few simple operations and spare parts, it can be turned into a weapon of a different class, from a short machine pistol that excels at close range to a light machine gun. This does not mean that the underlying concept's simplicity and reliability have been sacrificed either. Even though my Kalash is many years my senior, it saved my bacon out on many an occasion, and would shoot like nothing happened even after taking a dip in the marsh. Weapons are something we people are definitely good at making. They will probably be ready to kill years after there remains nobody on the face of the planet capable of pulling the trigger. That's an interesting thought. Artyom mentions how this gun is older than he is, and he uses it even today to still take lives. Huh. Shambler. What would be the Achilles heel of a shotgun? The long reload cycle, perhaps, and to remedy that, it looks like the designer of this monstrosity was ready to sacrifice anything: reliability, simplicity, even the common sense. Still, in terms of sheer firepower, this cross between a meat grinder and a lawnmower is second to none, and Tokarov says that, despite its freakish looks, it won't explode in my arms in the nearest future. Of course, if I exercise the necessary caution and clean it regularly, I guess I'll pretend I believe him. Yeah, this thing does not look quite up to code. It's a little intense. Tikar. Frankly speaking, I didn't recognize that Tikar was a weapon when I saw it for the first time, and it took some time to believe that it really could function. Even so, this remarkably ugly masterpiece of the armory station designers they've been driving into making by the eternal shortage of ammo has proven to be indispensable for the Order's operatives. Not only does Tikar shoot the ubiquitous bearing balls, it is also practically noiseless, packs a wallop, and is quite accurate over short distances naturally. All in all, it is an ideal special operations weapon for the conditions of the metro. Of course, you have to mind not just the ammo in the magazine, but also the air reservoir pressure. The Tokarov has at least improved the valve so that the air does not escape unless you actually shoot the weapon. Revolver. In the metro, where ammo is worth its weight in gold, a weapon's reload speed is usually a distant second or even third priority, while its reliability and simplicity become critical. Humidity, dust, poor quality, handmade ammunition. Pulling a revolver trigger the second time when it misfires is much faster than fixing a feed failure in an automatic pistol, and in the confines of the tunnels, and in the confines of the tunnels, enemies might deny you the time needed for that altogether. There's like missing letters and missing punctuation there. That's why the armory stations started producing copies of ancient Nagant revolvers. Soon they learned that even 7 bullets sometimes are not enough to stop a charging Nosalis, so they had to switch to a more powerful and exotic for Russia 44 Magnum caliber. A hit with one of these is usually enough to kill a mutant on the spot. And that is exactly why such revolvers were a welcome addition to the Spartan Order's arsenal. Besides, due to the fact that they retained the Nagant revolver's gas sealing mechanism, they can be fitted with suppressors, and modifications introduced by our gunsmiths let them accommodate any other add-ons from carbine-type stocks to night vision sights. A shot. What firearm could be simpler than a shotgun? Perhaps some extremely primitive zip gun, but those aren't known for their efficiency. A buckshot salvo, though, will make even the toughest and meanest mutants at least think about their next actions carefully. Besides, shotgun ammo is easier to handle than any other kind, so the popularity of this class of weapons is nothing surprising. Their variety, though, never ceased to amaze me, even after I learned that functional shotguns could be made from lengths of water pipes, like most of S-shot variants are. Still, anything from 1 to 4 barrels, not counting different chokes, stocks, recoil compensators, and sights. Even within the order, the only standard as far as the shotguns are concerned is their caliber. I can't wrap my head around how Tokarev manages to know them all inside out. Bastard. What if you require something with a better cyclic rate of fire than a revolver, but consider an assault rifle to be an overkill? The submachine guns are there for you. That is, of course, if besides the requirements and fantasy, you have quality machines and materials. If all you have is fantasy and skillful hands, you end up with an embodiment of the beggars can't be choosers principle. You happen to have a length of thin pipe, a dented bucket, a rusty anvil and some pliers? Perfect. In a couple days, you may as well be sprayed the mutants with lead like you're so much water from a garden hose. What about the same range and accuracy, and not for long as your creation spitting unscrewed nuts left and right, will overheat from its insane rate of fire and jam within seconds like the bastard gun, ever popular amongst the denizens of the metro. Despite all the afflictions plaguing this gunsmith's nightmare, Tokarev wanted to turn it into a decent weapon. With enough power and accuracy to take its rightful place in our arsenal, its only remaining drawback, that even Tokarev's magic was unable to fix it, of its propensity to jam when it overheats. Still, the number of bullets the bastard, as we naturally came to be calling it, manages to spit out before it stutters, usually ends up being enough for any opponent. Decoy. An improvised noise decoy that attracts attention of humans and beasts alike with the loud, rattling noise it produces. Yup. That'll do it. Throwing knives. The perfect stealthy short-range weapon. The throwing knives are cold wrought by many a blacksmith throughout the metro from spring steel. Explosive. This makeshift grenade is essentially a length of steel pipe filled with explosives, but it can still be quite deadly if it goes off close enough. Oh, sure can. Yeah, this is just a bunch of nails duct taped around a piece of dynamite. Molotov cocktail. This little primitive incendiary device, little more than a bottle filled with gasoline, is still a dangerous weapon if employed skillfully. Definitely is. Definitely is. Well, that's all of it. Neat little bonus episode. I definitely wanted to make sure that I really went through this and actually read it all, because this game is just full of so much story and detail that it would be a shame if I tried to leave any of it behind. So if the opportunity provides itself for me to go through stuff like this, I will take a moment and sit down and read it. Ooh, unfortunately, talking for this long has done a number on my throat, so definitely got to end for now, but thank you so much for watching. This doesn't progress the story in any way, but if you enjoyed this, I'm glad you did. It seems like this might get updated as time passes, so I might do more bonus episodes like this. So if this was something you enjoyed, look forward to more things like it in the future. For now, take care, and I'll catch you later in the regular episodes of Metro Exodus, or whatever else you might be watching on my channel. See you then!